The Mayday call came from the middle of the ocean. The man on the radio didn't know where he was. When the Coast Guard finally gave us his coordinates, they pointed to a place that shouldn't exist. The chart said open water, but our instruments didn't agree. The depth changed too fast. The compass couldn't settle, and then the boat stopped moving like a boat. Nothing hit us. Nothing surfaced, the water just started lifting us, from underneath. The radio call didn't sound like panic. That was what unsettled Ethan Rourke. "Mayday, this is the Lark," the man said, breathing hard but controlled. "Engines dead. Smoke in the cabin. Anne. I don't know where we are." Ethan stood over the chart table aboard his sailboat, Sparrow, somewhere off the Florida coast. In 1985, you trusted what you could touch: compass, charts, depth sounder. His Lawrencey glowed green, steady enough to look honest. The Coast Guard asked for coordinates. A pause. Whine through the mic. "Compass keeps spinning. And we keep hitting something. Like rock. Rock didn't belong out here." Ethan keyed his mic. "Coast Guard, sailing vessel Sparrow. I'm close enough to assist. Send me the position." The numbers came through. Ethan wrote them down, and stopped. According to every chart he knew, that point was open water. Yet his memory warned him of shoals nearby, a reef locals avoided. Not at that exact spot. Lena Morales leaned into the cabin, already clipped into her harness. One look at the chart and she shook her head. "That's wrong." "I know," Ethan said. The Lauren numbers jumped 2 miles, then snapped back. "We're still going," he said. Silence meant someone might still be alive. They ran without deck lights. The moon hid behind clouds, and the sea rolled slow and heavy. Ethan brought Sparrow onto the heading. The compass needle trembled, unsure. The depth sounder read 180. 140, then climbed too fast. 90, 70. 50. Ethan felt the hull change, waves tightening, water behaving differently. "We're coming up on something," he said, easing the helm. The numbers kept rising. Ahead, a light blinked, uneven, human. "Lark, this is Sparrow. I see you." "Yes, thank God," the reply came. "We're drifting. Fuel smell. We can't." A loud crack cut the transmission. Then a grinding sound rolled across the water, boat against stone. "Lark?" Ethan shouted. Nothing. The depth sounder flashed 22. Lena whispered, "Ethan, look." The water ahead bulged upward, smooth and deliberate. A dark ridge broke the surface once, too steady to be a wave, then slipped under. The light on Lark dipped and vanished. Then came a whistle in the dark, 3 sharp blasts, then 2. A distress signal. "Come now." Ethan grabbed the radio. "Lark, talk to me." A younger voice answered, tight with fear. "Please. Don't come closer. It's..." The radio clicked off. Not fading. Not static. Someone had turned it off. Ethan didn't answer the radio. He listened to the boat. Sparrow floated in an uneasy silence. The usual sounds, the slap of waves, the hiss along the hull, were gone. Even the wind felt distant. The depth sounder flickered between 21 and 23, numbers that refused to settle. "We can't stay here," Lena said quietly. She was clipped in, one hand on the rail. "One wrong swell and we're stuck." Ethan eased the helm, trying to slide them sideways. The compass needle spun, slowed, then pointed somewhere that made no sense. The hull shuddered. Not a sharp hit. A heavy nudge, like brushing against a wall underwater. "We touched," Lena said. "Barely," Ethan replied. Then it happened again, longer this time. The keel scraped, a vibration climbing up through Ethan's legs. He dumped the main sheet, spilling wind. Sparrow drifted free, but the water around them had changed. A swell rose smoothly from below, wide and deliberate. Another crossed it at the wrong angle. The surface darkened, oily, as if something deep had been disturbed. Lena leaned over with her flashlight. "Don't," Ethan warned. She froze. Debris. A life jacket floated past, torn. Then a cushion. A fuel hose. Whatever had happened to the Lark, it hadn't been gentle. A sound came from the dark, coughing. "There!" Lena shouted. A head surfaced 20 yards away, then vanished. A hand slapped the water and disappeared. Ethan grabbed a heaving line. "Hold us steady." Another swell rolled through, stronger, pushing Sparrow sideways. The depth sounder flashed 17. Lena crawled forward, clipped in tight. "I've got you," she shouted. The swimmer came up again, a man, bleeding from the head, barely afloat. "It's under us," he gasped. It hit us again. Something pushed the hull. Not a scrape. A shove. The boat lurched. Lena fell hard to her knees. Ethan felt it then, a pressure moving beneath them, wide and controlled. The water boiled for a moment, then went flat. The man screamed. He vanished without a splash. No struggle. No bubbles. Just gone. Ethan stood frozen, rope hanging useless from his hands. Sharks didn't take people like that. The radio crackled suddenly. A weak voice bled through the static. "Anyone hear me? I'm still on the Lark. I'm trapped." The signal wavered. Then something struck Sparrow from below hard enough to throw them both to the deck. The depth sounder went dark. And the sea began to rise beneath them. Ethan came up coughing, salt burning his throat. For a second he didn't know where he was. Only black water, the roar of the sea too close, too loud. His hands found rope and locked onto it before his mind caught up. "Lena," he shouted. "I'm here." Her voice was tight but steady. She was still clipped in, hauling him back toward the cockpit as Sparrow rolled hard beneath them. The depth sounder was dead. The screen showed nothing at all. Another shove came from below, slow, powerful. Not an impact. Pressure. The starboard rail dipped and water poured across the deck. "We're close to going over," Lena said. Ethan scrambled up and threw his weight windward. The boat hesitated, then rolled back, shedding water. His heart hammered so hard it blurred his vision. "This isn't a reef," he said finally. Lena nodded. She didn't ask what he thought it was. The radio crackled. A weak voice cut through the static. "Anyone, still trapped, engine room." "The Lark," Lena said. "He's alive." Ethan looked at the water. It had gone calm again, smooth and dark, but he could feel movement below, bending the sea around it. "If we launch the dinghy," he said slowly, "we may not get it back." "And if we don't," Lena replied, "he dies." Another swell lifted them, sharper than before. The keel scraped something solid beneath the hull. Ethan felt the vibration in his teeth. The ocean had already decided. "Get the spotlight and flares," he said. "If it's down there, I want eyes on it." They worked fast. The inflatable dinghy slipped into the water with a soft splash that sounded far too loud. Ethan clipped in again and climbed down. The moment his boots touched the water, he felt it, cold, deep, crowded. The sea didn't feel empty. Lena held the line. "You see anything?" Ethan swept the spotlight across drifting debris, planks, foam, a cooler. No sign of the Lark. It was gone. Then the beam caught a shadow beneath the surface. Wide. Slow. Moving against the current. "Lena," he said quietly. "I see it," she whispered. The shadow rolled slightly, revealing a pale underside marked with old scars, propeller wounds. This thing had survived boats before. The radio screamed with feedback as the trapped man's voice burst through, panicked and close. "It's pushing me." The transmission cut off mid-word. Below Ethan, the shadow surged upward. The water rose. And the dinghy lifted with it. The dinghy rose as if the sea had found a grip beneath it. Ethan dropped to his knees instinctively, fingers clawing for balance as the inflatable tilted. The water around him swelled upward, smooth and controlled, not breaking, lifting. He felt weight beneath the hull that had no business being there. "Ethan, get back!" Lena shouted from Sparrow. "I can't." The dinghy slid sideways, tugging hard on the line connecting it to the sailboat. The rope went taut with a violent snap, humming under the strain. Something surfaced inches from the dinghy's bow. Not a fin. Not a wave. A massive curve of dark flesh broke the surface briefly, slick and scarred, then slipped back under. The water surged again, rocking the dinghy hard enough that Ethan nearly lost his grip. "That's not a shark," Lena said, her voice flat with disbelief. Ethan didn't answer. He was staring into the water, heart hammering, realizing the same thing. Sharks struck. They bit. This thing pushed. Tested. Like it was learning. The line jerked again, harder. Sparrow heeled suddenly, mast groaning. Lena was thrown against the rail and barely caught herself. "The line's pulling us over," she yelled. Ethan looked back at her, then down at the water. The pressure beneath the dinghy shifted, slow and deliberate, as if whatever was below had decided the small boat wasn't enough. It wanted the bigger one. "Cut it!" Ethan shouted. "Cut the line." Lena froze. "If I cut it, you're adrift. If you don't, we all go under." Another shove came from below, lifting the dinghy's stern high. Ethan slid forward, chest slamming into the inflatable tube. The water boiled, not violently, but with power held in reserve. The radio crackled suddenly, faint but unmistakable, metal groaning, water rushing, a trapped man screaming somewhere deep inside a sinking hull. Then silence. Ethan's stomach twisted. That sound would follow him for the rest of his life, if he lived long enough. "Lena," he yelled again. She stared at him, eyes wide, knife already in her hand. The line stretched between them, humming, vibrating like a living thing. "I'm sorry," she said. She cut. The tension vanished instantly. The dinghy dropped back into the water with a hard slap, and Sparrow lurched upright, freed. Ethan barely had time to breathe before the sea moved again. Without the line's resistance, the pressure beneath him surged. The dinghy lifted once more, higher this time, the bow pointing skyward. Ethan clung to the side, arms burning, as water poured off the hull in sheets. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. The pressure vanished. The dinghy slammed back down, throwing Ethan forward. He lay there gasping, waiting for the next hit. It didn't come. The water flattened. The sea went quiet. Too quiet. "Ethan." Lena called from Sparrow, her voice shaking. "Answer me." "I'm still here," he said, though he wasn't sure how. Between them, the dark water stretched calm and empty again. No fin. No shadow. No sign of the thing that had just decided whether they lived or died. But Ethan knew better now. It hadn't left. It had only let go. The calm didn't feel like safety. It felt like a pause. Ethan lay still in the dinghy, listening to his own breathing, afraid that any movement might invite the water back to life. The sea around him was smooth, almost gentle now, as if nothing violent had happened. That frightened him more than the struggle. "Ethan," Lena called again. "Talk to me." "I'm here," he said, forcing his voice steady. His arms shook as he sat up. The cut line trailed uselessly in the water, already drifting away. He was alone now, no tether, no easy way back. The spotlight from Sparrow swept over him, then the water. Nothing surfaced. No shadow. No ripple that didn't belong. Lena didn't lower her guard. Ethan could hear it in her voice. I don't see it. That doesn't mean anything, he replied. He took the paddles and dipped one slowly into the water. No resistance. No pull. Just see. He started paddling back toward Sparrow, every stroke measured, controlled. He didn't want splashing. He didn't want to sound alive. Halfway there, the dinghy rocked gently, not from a wave, from below. Ethan froze mid-stroke. The movement stopped. The water smoothed again. Lena, he whispered. Something's pacing me. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was low. I know. Ethan followed her light. Beneath the surface, just beyond the beam's reach, the water looked thicker somehow, like darkness layered on darkness. He paddled again, faster now. The radio crackled without warning. Not a voice. Just static. Then a dull, metallic groan, as if sound itself were being squeezed through waterlogged steel. Ethan's stomach dropped. That sound hadn't come from the air. It's the lark, Lena said. Or what's left of it. The groan came again, closer this time, followed by a deep, hollow thump that vibrated through the dinghy. Ethan felt it in his ribs. The water to his left bulged slightly, then settled. He paddled harder. The spotlight flickered, then steadied. Ethan, hurry, Lena said. Depths changing again. He glanced back at Sparrow's sounder. It had come back to life, numbers racing upward. 28, 24. 19. Too shallow, he gasped. Something brushed the dinghy's stern. Just a touch. A test. Ethan cried out and lunged forward, ramming the dinghy against Sparrow's hull. Lena grabbed his collar and hauled him aboard as the inflatable spun away. The dinghy vanished into the dark, pulled sideways by an unseen force. Ethan collapsed on deck, chest heaving. It followed me, he said. It knows us now. Lena stared into the water, jaw tight. Then it's not hunting blindly anymore. Below them, something struck the shoal again, once, twice, like a giant feeling its boundaries. And farther out, beyond the reach of light, metal screamed briefly as something heavy finally gave way. The sea went quiet. But neither of them believed it was finished. They didn't speak for a long time. Sparrow floated crooked over the shoal, sails slack, hull creaking softly as if the boat itself were tired. The depth sounder now showed 31 feet and holding. Not safe. Just less immediate. Ethan sat with his back against the cockpit wall, arms wrapped around his knees, still wet, still shaking. Every few seconds he expected the hull to lift again. It didn't. That thing, Lena said finally, not looking at him. It didn't attack like an animal. No, Ethan answered. It acted like pressure. Like machinery. The thought settled badly between them. The radio came alive with a burst of Coast Guard chatter, faint, distant. Ethan lunged for it, heart jumping. Repeat last, multiple echoes, possible wreck. Ethan keyed the mic, Coast Guard, this is sailing vessel Sparrow. We responded to the Lark's Mayday. Vessel appears sunk. One survivor lost in the water. We are in immediate danger due to unknown hazard. Static swallowed his words. He tried again. Nothing. Lena watched the water while he transmitted, eyes scanning the surface as if she expected it to wrinkle. They're not hearing us clearly, she said. Or they are, and they don't like what they're hearing. The current began to shift. At first it was subtle, just a change in the way debris moved. Then Ethan noticed something worse. Sparrow wasn't drifting away from the shoal. She was being pulled sideways along it. No wind, Ethan muttered. He checked the telltales. Slack. We're moving. Lena crouched by the rail, peering down. Something's guiding us. The keel scraped again, light, controlled, like a hand steering them through narrow space. The sound wasn't violent, but it was precise. Too precise. The compass spun once, then settled on a heading that matched their movement exactly. Ethan stared at it. It's aligning us. With what? Lena asked. Before he could answer, the water ahead darkened, not from depth, but from shadow. A long shape loomed beneath the surface, stretching forward like a submerged wall. Then the sea opened. Not violently. Slowly. The shoal dropped away into a channel that shouldn't have existed, deep water cutting through rock like it had been carved intentionally. The depth sounder jumped. 40, 60. 90, we're free, Lena whispered. Ethan didn't feel relief. He felt dread. Because Sparrow didn't slow. She was being carried forward, into the channel, toward open water that felt anything but open. Behind them, the shoal rose again, sealing shut with a soft, final slap of waves. Whatever had moved them had done what it wanted. And now, in deeper water, it no longer needed to be careful. The channel released them without warning. One moment Sparrow was sliding forward as if guided, the keel whispering through deep water, the next, the pressure vanished. The boat yawed hard to port, sails snapping as the current let go. Ethan grabbed the helm and fought it back. His hands were raw, his arms trembling, but the wheel answered. For the first time in hours, the boat felt like a boat again. Depth sounder, 112. 140, climbing. We're clear, Lena said, though she didn't sound convinced. Ethan scanned the water. No shoal. No bulge. Just rolling black sea under low cloud. The wind returned in small, uncertain breaths, enough to fill the sails but not enough to feel honest. He tried the radio again. Coast Guard, Sparrow. We are in deep water now. Do you read? Static. Then, faintly, a carrier wave, someone listening, maybe, but no reply. They sailed in silence, letting distance build. 5 minutes. 10. Ethan's shoulders loosened a fraction. He hated himself for it. Then the wake changed. It wasn't turbulence. It was absence, water smoothing behind them, as if something were erasing the trail they left. Lena noticed it too, she leaned over the rail, eyes tracking the dark. Our wake's wrong, she said. Ethan looked back. She was right. The moon broke through briefly, just enough to show it, the V of foam thinning, then flattening, swallowed from below. The compass twitched. Don't, Ethan muttered, tapping the glass. The needle steadied, then swung 10 degrees off course without any change in wind. A low thump traveled through the hull. Not a hit. A proximity. The kind of sound you felt more than heard. Lena clipped in again. It's pacing us. Ethan pushed the throttle, then remembered, no engine. He trimmed the sails, squeezing what little wind there was. Sparrow answered, leaning into it. The thump came again. Closer. The depth sounder dipped, then rose. 168. 160. 172, like something passing beneath them, massive enough to confuse the transducer. Ethan's mouth went dry. Hold on. The sea ahead darkened in a long oval, water drawing down as if a current had reversed direction. Sparrow slid toward it, not fast, not slow, inevitable. Lena grabbed the rail. That's not weather. No, Ethan said. That's displacement. The oval collapsed. A surge rolled up from below and lifted the stern. The rudder lost bite. The boat slewed sideways, beam on to the swell. For one sickening second, they were weightless. Then Sparrow slammed down, rigging screaming. A locker burst open, gears skidded across the deck. Ethan fought the helm back, knuckles white. We're not running, he said. We can't outrun it. Then what? Lena shouted. Ethan stared at the instruments, at the water, at the empty horizon. An idea formed, thin, dangerous. We stop, he said. She stared at him. That's insane. It's not chasing, he replied. It's controlling space. If we stop making wake, if we stop pushing, it might pass. Another thump, right under the cockpit. The boat shivered. Lena swallowed. And if it doesn't? Ethan eased the sails. The wind spilled away. Sparrow slowed, then drifted. The sea closed in around them, smooth and listening. They waited. Seconds stretched. A minute. 2. Then the water beside them sank, quietly, like an elevator descending. A long shadow slid past, so close Ethan could have reached down and touched the pressure it made. No splash. No fin. Just mass. When it was gone, the wake returned. The compass steadied. The depth sounder held. Lena let out a breath she'd been holding too long. It chose. Ethan nodded, eyes still on the water. For now. Far off, beyond where the shadow had gone, a distant rumble rolled through the sea, deep, metallic, unresolved. And Ethan knew they hadn't escaped. They'd been measured. They let the boat drift for nearly an hour. Neither of them said it aloud, but both were counting, waves, breaths, heartbeats, waiting for the sea to change its mind. It didn't. The water rolled normally now, indifferent, as if the night's violence had been a misunderstanding. Ethan finally adjusted the sails again, cautiously, giving Sparrow just enough way to keep her bow into the swell. The compass held steady. The depth sounder behaved. Every instrument pretended nothing had happened. That's worse, Lena said. When it acts normal. Ethan nodded. He kept replaying the shadow sliding past them, the way the water had folded around it without breaking. It knows us, he said. Not personally. But we're logged. Lena didn't ask what he meant. The radio crackled faintly, stronger now. Coast Guard traffic was clearer, overlapping voices coordinating a search grid. Ethan keyed in, forcing his voice calm. Coast Guard, this is sailing vessel Sparrow. We are clear of immediate hazard. We confirm the Lark has sunk. Unknown cause. There was a pause. Then, Sparrow, repeat last. Unknown cause. Ethan hesitated. He pictured trying to explain pressure, shadows, water behaving like machinery. He pictured the silence that would follow. Affirmative, he said finally. Cause unknown. Possible uncharted obstruction. Another pause, longer this time. Copy that, Sparrow. Maintain position. Cutter en route. Lena looked at him sharply. Maintain position. They want eyes on the site, Ethan said. We're the last ones who saw it. The sea answered with a low, distant tremor, felt more than heard. Not close. Not yet. They're coming, Lena said. And whatever that was, it won't like witnesses. Ethan stared at the horizon. Or it already expected them. Minutes passed. Then the radar, a system Ethan trusted more than he wanted to, picked up something large moving miles out. Not a ship. No transponder. Too steady. It's not the cutter, Lena said. No, Ethan agreed. It's on an intercept. The water ahead darkened again, subtly, like ink spreading under glass. The depth sounder dipped 10 feet, then corrected. Lena clipped in. Ethan. I know. He made a choice then, quiet and terrible. He turned the boat, not toward safety, not toward shore, but across the pattern the shadow had taken before. What are you doing? Lena asked. Showing it we can choose, he said. That we're not cargo. The tremor deepened. The radar contact slowed. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the sea relaxed. The dark patch thinned. The depth returned. The contact on radar faded, not retreating, descending. Lena exhaled, shaky. It backed off. Ethan didn't feel relief. He felt marked. In the distance, a white light broke the horizon, the Coast Guard cutter, cutting through the night like a promise. Ethan kept his eyes on the water. Because some things didn't need to follow you anymore. They just needed to know where you lived. The cutter's lights grew brighter, cutting white scars across the water. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest, not relief, not fear, but the sense that a line was about to be crossed whether he wanted it or not. Rescue meant questions. Questions meant attention. And attention, he suspected, was the last thing this place tolerated. The radio crackled. "Sparrow, this is Coast Guard Cutter Resolute. We have you on visual. Prepare to receive assistance." Lena leaned close to Ethan. "If we tell them everything, they won't believe us," he said. "And if they do?" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The cutter slowed as it approached, powerful engines thrumming through the water. Ethan felt the vibration travel up through Sparrow's hull, through his feet. Beneath that, deeper, he felt something else respond. The sea stirred. Not violently. Not yet. A subtle thickening, like water remembering weight. "Depths changing again," Lena said. Slowly. Ethan glanced down. 180. 172. 165, deep water, but rising. The cutter's spotlight swept across them, then the surrounding sea. For a moment, everything looked ordinary, 2 boats, open water, a long night ending. Then the spotlight hesitated. "Do you see that?" Lena whispered. Beneath the surface, just outside the cutter's beam, a long shadow curved away, massive and patient. It didn't rush. It didn't hide. It simply moved, confident it was unseen. The cutter hailed again. "Sparrow, confirm there are no additional persons in the water." Ethan keyed the mic. His thumb hovered. If he said yes, they would search. If they searched, they would provoke. And if that thing decided the cutter was an intrusion? "Negative," Ethan said finally. "No one else." The words tasted like rust. The cutter acknowledged and began circling, engines pushing water outward. The shadow reacted immediately. The depth sounder jumped, then steadied. The pressure Ethan had learned to recognize passed beneath Sparrow, fast this time. "Ethan," Lena said, voice breaking. "It's going under them." The sea beneath the cutter darkened. Not visibly, not enough for alarms, but enough that Ethan felt it in his bones. Then it stopped. The shadow changed course, sliding away from the cutter, deeper, fading from instruments and instinct alike. The water relaxed. On the radio, the cutter's tone shifted back to routine. "Sparrow, we'll escort you toward safer water. You're lucky tonight." Lucky. Ethan nodded to himself, hands shaking on the wheel. They fell in line behind the cutter, white foam leading the way like a path out of something sacred and dangerous. As the distance from the shoals grew, the sea returned fully to itself. Normal waves. Normal wind. Normal sounds. But Ethan knew better now. When the shoreline lights finally appeared, Florida, solid and real, Lena spoke for the first time in a while. "It let them pass," she said. "Like we did." Ethan watched the horizon, where water met land. "No," he replied softly. "It learned." Behind them, far out where no lights reached, the sea rolled once, deep and heavy, as if something enormous had turned over in its sleep. And Ethan understood the last, cruel truth of survival. Some things don't follow you to kill you. They follow you to know you made it home. They reached port just before dawn. The marina lights hummed softly, reflected in calm water that looked harmless enough to forget everything. Lines were thrown, cleats caught, engines idled down. The Coast Guard cutter peeled away with a final radio check and disappeared back into the dark. Just like that, the ocean let them go. Ethan sat alone in the cockpit while Lena spoke with an officer on the dock. He watched the water between the slips, still, shallow, ordinary. No shadows. No pressure. No sense of depth beyond what his eyes could measure. He knew better. In the daylight that followed, statements were taken. Charts were examined. Coordinates were circled and crossed out. The Lark was listed as a total loss due to unconfirmed grounding. No further investigation recommended. Unconfirmed things were easier that way. By afternoon, Sparrow looked like any other tired sailboat tied to any other pier. Ethan scrubbed dried salt from the deck with slow, mechanical strokes. His hands remembered the rope going slack. The dinghy lifting. The water rising. Lena joined him quietly. "They're done," she said. "As far as they're concerned." Ethan nodded. "So is the sea." She studied him. "You don't believe that?" "No," he said. "I believe it remembers." They didn't talk about what they'd seen, not really. Words turned it smaller, safer. Neither of them wanted that. Some things needed to stay the size they were. That night, after Lena left, Ethan stayed aboard alone. The marina had gone quiet. Wind chimes clicked softly. Somewhere, a halyard tapped a mast in a slow, patient rhythm. Ethan lay in his bunk, eyes open, listening. At exactly 2:17 a.m. The boat shifted. Just a little. A gentle nudge against the fenders. Normal, he told himself. Tides did that. Then the water beneath the hull changed. Not movement. Wait. Ethan sat up, heart hammering. He held his breath and listened, not with his ears, but with the part of him that had learned the difference. The pressure lingered for a few seconds. Long enough to be certain. Then it faded. In the morning, Ethan checked the transom. The wake paint was disturbed, not scraped, not damaged, just smoothed, as if something large had passed close enough to touch the water his boat had once displaced. No one else noticed. Ethan didn't report it. Somewhere offshore, beyond charts and names, the sea rolled on, indifferent again. Or pretending to be. And Ethan understood the final lesson survival had given him. You don't always escape the ocean. Sometimes, it simply lets you live. So you'll remember where it is.